What can you do if you live in regions that is mostly cool, rainy, and you have a lot of pests to deal with in your region? What are some of the steps that you can take to ensure that you get the best result out of your garden? Hi, I'm White Davy. Welcome to White Davy Garden and Worm Farm. Here I am working on my raised beds. I am in the process of building them. So as I build individual beds, I try to get them planted up because the growing season is not very long. So what are some of the issues that we face in this region? One, the average temperature here in Prince Rupert is around 15 degrees Celsius year-round. Well, not year-round, but during the summer and spring, which means that for growing peppers and tomatoes, the temperatures may not be high enough. So, in order to get the best result, as you can see, I've enclosed my raised bed with plastic covering so that it can keep it warm. And trust me, when I come underneath this plastic, when I stuff my head in that garden, it is so hot in there. One of the things that you need to keep in mind if you're going to be doing this, if you're going to be covering your raised bed with plastic, is that you must allow for airflow. One, it is going to prevent certain pathogens from developing in your raised bed. Two, it is going to help to make your plants stronger. So you need to have airflow. Plants rely on air. The next thing that you want to do is, especially when it comes to pests, is to make sure that you keep a keen eye on what is going on in your garden on a regular basis, because when you have your things enclosed, it creates a different environment from just growing outdoors, and so you have to keep a close eye on what's going on in your garden. Now, one of the tips that I want to share with you is that tomatoes, peppers, aubergines, and even potatoes can have bottom end rot. And so one of the ways that you can prevent it is by using things like crushed eggshells, which I'm using here, diatomaceous earth, or garden lime. But you want to make sure that whatever you're using is food grade and does not have any chemicals added to it. So that is what I am doing here. I'm going around and I'm putting in, usually I mix the crushed eggshells into the soil, but I was advanced with getting things planted up, so I didn't get the chance to do that. So now I am topping it up with eggshells. You want to ensure that your eggshells are finely crushed, because eggshells can take up to 3 years to break down. You want to have as much surface area on your eggshells so that it can break down faster and the plants can get the nutrients. When your tomatoes are about to flower, as is the case here, you want to make sure you do another round of crushed eggshell or calcium based products to ensure that your tomatoes or other plants won't end up with bottom end rot. Now, some people say that crushed eggshell prevents snails and slugs. Some say it works, some say it doesn't. It does not kill them, but they do not like to walk over it. So that might be an additional benefit of adding it to the surface of your bin. Snails and slugs are some of the issues that we face here. Deers, bears, and other animals are some of the pests that we have to deal with in the garden. That is another reason why I have my garden enclosed. You may ask, but what happens if you're growing cool weather crop like your brassicas and your lettuce? In that case, then you want to use mesh over your garden instead of the plastic, because the mesh will keep the pest out and at the same time allow airflow and keep your plants cool. So in my brassica bed that you might be able to see behind this bed here, I am going to be putting mesh on that one. Now for snails and slugs, if you are growing a garden and your region is known for lots of snails and slugs, which this region is known for because it's always cool and always damp, when you come out here in the early morning, you can literally see hundreds of slugs. One of the things that you can do is, instead of planting in the ground or instead of building your raised bed on the ground, you want to elevate your raised bed off the ground. And if the property is yours and you're permitted to do so, remove foliage that is growing underneath your beds. Ensure that those foliage that's growing underneath your bed is not touching against the bottom of your beds, because the snails that crawl on them can crawl up into your beds. One of the things that you can do too is to ensure that there is foliage growing around your beds that the snails like to eat, because then the snails are going to go to that. They're not going to spend too much time focusing on going to your raised beds. So elevate it off the ground, make sure that there is enough foliage growing around your raised beds that the snails can go to. That way they won't be so attracted to your plants. But you have to ensure that the plants that are on the ground for the snails are plants that the snails actually enjoy, or they will make their way to your garden. Now, as I am new to this region, especially now where gardening is concerned, I don't know how well this is going to perform, but here we go. So far, I haven't seen any snails or slugs on any of my raised beds that I've had here for at least 2 weeks with plants in them. I haven't seen snails and slugs because I ensure that the foliage is not touching and the bottom of the bin, and I ensure that I do not get rid of the foliage that is down low. It is with regret that I have to tell you that I had to make a very tough decision. So if you saw the video last week, then you'd know that my indoor garden wasn't doing too well because of aphids that was introduced from the plants that I got at the supermarket. But it seemed to have come with another disease as well. So my plants were showing signs of the mosaicvirus. At least that's what it looks like. And so I decided that I am going to get rid of all those plants on that side of the indoor garden that has any sign of it. So over here, this is all that is left. So pretty much I do not have any tomatoes in here. All of the plants that were on this side seem to be okay. So that is what's left. And over here, as you can see, all the plants are gone. I still have my lemongrass because it doesn't show any sign of sickness and there are no aphids on it or anything of the sort. So if you have the mosaic virus on your plants, it does not affect humans, it doesn't affect pests, it only affects the plants. And if you keep the plants and the plants do produce, you can eat the produce, but you cannot plant seeds that you get from that produce. Also, your soil needs to be sterilized because the mosaic virus can be soil borne. So all of my soil has been sterilized and I'm in the process of removing the debris from it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take all these containers down with soil in them, and I'm going to take all of them and I'm going to put them in one large container, and then I'm going to allow a few weeks, say a month to pass, because I've already sterilized them. I'm going to allow a month to pass, allow the soil to dry, then I'm going to sift the soil to ensure that I get rid of roots and any other plant debris that may be in the soil, because there's no cure for the mosaic virus. and it affects plants at the molecular level, which means that you can't have any of its roots, any of its stem, its leaf, or anything from the plants in the soil. So that is what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. And then this soil, I'm going to put it in a specific raised bed and grow some things in it to see what happened to them, if they show any sign of the infection or the virus. If they show sign of the virus, then I'm going to be tossing the soil out, which is too bad because it's rather expensive, but such is life. I'd rather not have it than constantly having to deal with mosaicvirus, because it is highly contagious for your plants. So when you have it, any plants that come into contact with it has to be thrown out. You have to wash the clothes you're wearing, take a bath, make sure you wash your hands, and sterilize not just the soil but the containers that they are in, because you cannot plant anything in it, even if you get new soil, without sterilizing the container. And you also have to sterilize the area. So I use bleach water and I spray down all the walls and the floors just to make sure that I get it under control. But when I take these down, I'm not going to be doing anything else, growing anything else in these pots for now, because I'm going to another type of setup in here. So stay tuned if you want to see what I'm going to do, because there is more coming for this indoor garden. So if you enjoyed my video and you would like to see more updates on what's going on with this garden, and you'd like beneficial information on growing indoors, then please take a moment to leave a comment. You can share this video with any of your friends that you know may be interested in learning about growing indoors, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Yeah man, a time for grow.